Hi, it's Richard here from Fearless Speakers, and in this video I'm going to be sharing some ideas about ways in which you can make your introductions and your conclusions to your talks really powerful. So let's start with introductions then. So what are the things we might want to be doing in an introduction to give it more impact? So one of the first things we want to be thinking about is about establishing our credibility. Now, if you've watched Rita Pearson's TED Talk, Every Kid Needs a Champion, and if you haven't, then please do go away and watch it because there are some great lessons to learn from watching it. You will see that in the first 20 seconds or so of that talk, she basically establishes her credibility as an authority in the field of education. So she shares how she's been in that field for decades and how she's lived and breathed it all that time. And so the way she introduces herself makes us trust her, makes us want to listen to her because we know that she's an authority in this area. Now, if you're giving a talk as part of a bigger event where there might be a compere, for example, then the compere might do this job for you. So it's likely that you will have given them your bio and they'll be reading from that and using that as an introduction. So it may be that you don't need to do this, but if you aren't in that situation, then this is absolutely essential. So you would introduce yourself and you would explain why you are the person who is a good person to listen to about this particular topic. So that's the first point. Second thing you might want to be thinking about is establishing a great connection with your audience. So here's another great example for you to go away and watch. Brené Brown's first TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability. Now, at the start of that talk, she tells a story straight off about how a researcher or a journalist wanted to speak to her and wanted to describe what Brené did. And she said, "Can I call you a storyteller?" And Brené was kind of almost offended by this idea. But she came round to the idea of actually she needed to get her message across. Then she needed to become known as a storyteller. And so this is a really vulnerable story. And in fact, of course, the subject matter of the talk is vulnerability. So not only is she establishing connection by sharing her vulnerability, she's also living the topic. So this is an absolutely great example of that. So another thing we might want to be doing is creating some kind of intrigue or lean in. It's like, "Oh, tell me more." And one of the great ways you can do that is by asking an intriguing question. So another great example for you to go away and look at, this is Wendy Suzuki. Her TED Talk is called The Brain Changing Effects of Exercise. And basically she asks a really powerful question right at the start. What if I told you? And you're like, yeah, what if you did? Please tell us more. So that's another great way that you can establish intrigue and lean in right at the start of a talk. Let's move on now to look at conclusions. What are the sort of things you might want to do to end your talk? Well, if you've been watching these videos, you'll know that one of my key beliefs is that to make your signature talk powerful, you need to have one key message running all the way through the talk. And so if that's the case, one of the best things you can do to finish the talk is to reinforce that message. Make sure it really does land. And so another example here, Simon Sinek, he's got a TED Talk, Why Good Leaders Make You Feel Safe. If you watch that, you'll notice that at the end, he tells a story. In fact, the whole talk is a series of stories, but the last one really encapsulates the overall key message. The other thing that you might want to do, particularly if you want people to do something or be a certain way or react in a certain way to your talk, is to give them a call to action. And there are lots of things that could be. So it could be that you ask them to maybe just even go away and think about an idea. It could be that you get them to sign a petition or sign up to your newsletter or come and speak to you afterwards. Whatever it is, ideally it's very closely connected to your key message. But again, if you want some forwarding of action at the end of your talk and going forward, then a call to action is one of the best ways of achieving that. So Hopefully that's given you some great ideas about how to start and end your talk. And in the next video, we're going to be looking at preparation, feedback, and also practice.